Hello, this is Dustin Draper. This is week 13 discussion, and I'm excited. This is our last week. I'm going to go over the interview paper that we've been working on for the past couple weeks, and mine specifically. And so, what I wanted to talk about was specifically comparison between companies of how they identify ethical issues and then how they address those issues. And so, for this particular subject, I interviewed two different companies that are pretty different when it comes to the nature of them. One was Carriage Cove Apartments, which is a student housing complex, and the other is the Woodbury Corporation, which deals a lot with real estate and business, but specifically it was with University Place, so University Mall, which they own now, and that's where I currently am employed. And so identifying the ethical issues. So for Carriage Cove, both of these people I interviewed had been with the company with almost 30 plus years. And so they've kind of seen an evolution of how they've identified ethical issues, how they've developed and evolved over the years, which I thought was extremely interesting, and then also how they are addressed, which it does differ from now until when they first began. And so, specifically with Carriage Cove, they have an interesting standpoint because they are a business with standards of student living, but also they have a BYU honor code, which works independently, but as a partnership with the apartment complex. So with the honor code, if you guys aren't familiar, they have certain standards set by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where students can't drink, smoke, do any kind of drugs, can't have same sex spending the night, or go in certain areas of the room. They have dressing and grooming standards, so on and so forth. And so with that one specifically, it's interesting when identifying things. It's very apparent. It's very physical. She said you just observe, you look, and you are able to identify a lot of those things. Particularly after dark, she says a lot of issues happen. But also with her employees, a lot of her employees live at Carriage Cove apartment complex, and she has to do a lot of training. And she said the most success comes out of identifying ethical issues is when she trains her employees well and consistently. And I thought that was very important, training your employees consistently. And she said she doesn't really have a lot of issues with her employees going forward as long as she trains them and is as transparent with them. With Diane Murphy at Woodbury Corporation, hers was a little bit different. As she deals more with maintenance guys, with marketing, with security, things that are at the mall, typical that you see in mall management offices. And her biggest thing is keeping those employees accountable, particularly with time management. She said that she's seen an increase of issues with that over the past year, but they're trying to resolve them right now. So employees would clock in and not work essentially and get paid for doing less, and they'd have their friends clock them in and so on and so forth. So they switched over to a finger scan identification, but even then people could bypass it with an ID number. And so now, just recently, in the past couple months, they set forth a facial recognition software. And so she's been very good with this because the company's told her to watch it. And she's been watching a security camera. And this one in particular employee would clock in, 30 minutes early from lunch, so on and so forth. So she started tracking him through the camera and came to find out that he was wasting time. He'd clock in and then just go back to lunch and finish up his lunch. And so that employee ended up getting fired. But she says technology has really helped her identifying ethical issues at the workplace in particular. Cameras are a great way to keep people responsible. They have been for a while. And then this new clocking system has helped with the time management, but also technology monitoring systems, but also not doing it behind the employee's back. There's something called felt accountability that I learned about in one of these scholarly articles. And felt accountability is a subjective experience defined as the degree to which employees feel they need to explain and or justify their behavior to their supervisor. And so this is kind of hard because accountability with that power, you definitely have to have a balance where you're identifying, if you're in a person of power like Diane or Donetta, you definitely have to identify the issues that are happening, but you also need to make it a reasonable and fair work environment for your employees to make sure that they feel that they can grow and they can be safe there and not bullied. It's very easy for you, if you're in a position of power, to bully people and to over usurp your power to keep them, I guess, overly accountable. That might not be the right term, but I hope you understand what I'm saying with felt accountability. It kind of makes them feel like the victim. And so that's what you want to definitely avoid, because going back to chapter 2, you know, if you're a bad manager, it's going to bring bad ethics to your business. You're not going to get a good return if you're being overbearing or too lackadaisical. There's definitely a balance with these things. And that's why I noticed in my interview paper, and that's kind of my conclusion, is, technology is a wonderful thing. You should be always attentive. That's the best way to identify ethical issues. But you should also give employees a chance and a fair approach. Maybe they are doing things, but that's just always they've been taught that way, or they're used to doing things that way, but give them a chance to change. And a lot of these employees do. Both of the ones I interviewed said they are definitely willing to give them another chance to train them, to help them grow. And that's the corporate standard as well. They'll give them an opportunity to change and learn, but if they mess up, totally, then there'll definitely be some repercussions. But it's always a growing experience, and that's why I think a good company does, is they always create an opportunity for growth instead of immediate termination. And so having that careful balance, being completely transparent and open with your employees, using your technology to the most advantage that you can, and just being consistent with your trainings and your information to your employees. I think that's the biggest outcome you can have, is just being up to date with current events, because the world is changing a lot. It's constantly changing, especially after the last 30 years with these employees, these managers. They've seen such a change in direction of the world, and now they have to be careful on how they move forward, but they also see a lot of opportunity for growth. So anyways, it was a great paper. It was a great time in this class. I learned a lot, and I'm actually really interested in HR, and kind of thinking maybe I could go somewhere like that in my career. So anyways, thank you.